This is from a June 2010 article in the New York Times. U.S. identifies vast mineral riches in Afghanistan. The United States has discovered nearly 1 trillion in untapped mineral deposits in Afghanistan, far beyond any previously known reserves and enough to fundamentally alter the Afghan economy and perhaps the Afghan war itself, according to the senior American government officials. The previously unknown deposits, including huge veins of iron, copper, cobalt, gold, and critical industrial metals like lithium, are so big and include so many minerals that are essential to modern industry that Afghanistan could eventually be transformed into one of the most important mining centers in the world, the United States officials believe. And integral.
I remember that report. I was working on Afghanistan when that came out, and it's not false. It's not like lies in the sense that Afghanistan is a very large country and there's all kinds of rocks underneath it, and a lot of them are valuable. But it's also completely overblown. Most countries have got substantial mineral wealth in one form or another. The question is, how feasible is it to get at it? If you spend, and the United States is basically almost at the loss-making point anyway. If you got $1 trillion worth of value out of all of those minerals, you've spent almost $1 trillion worth of value just to get Afghanistan. You'd have been better off just buying them from the Taliban. But when you have projects or proposals or some strategy that you need to get approved by the guy with one more star than you, you have to bring some kind of justification, right? Like this time it'll work. And one of the tools of government management is the sort of break-even assessment, costs and balances, all these kinds of things, where you need to demonstrate economic outputs from your proposal that are going to cover the costs of executing it. This report is something that was probably ginned up in order to create the illusion that there might be a positive sum economic outcome from controlling Afghanistan. Then everybody cites it and says, "Oh, it'll be so great when we run this thing," but it's actually just a talking point that can get built into PowerPoint decks that are delivered one rung up the chain of command. I think there is a sort of geopolitical justification for America sticking around. And that's actually to play spoiler. The Afghanistan, ultimately, the value lies in your ability to connect the center of Eurasia with the Indian Ocean and with the Middle East. Right now, if you're playing Risk, it would be one of those solid lines where you can't move armies across, just because of the terrain, just because of the lack of infrastructure. It served as an excellent buffer, keeping the Soviet Union out of India and out of the Middle East. Right now, it's also a helpful way of boxing in China. And if you had a Taliban government, and there is this sneaking suspicion, there's no basis behind it, but a lot of American military industrial bureaucratic figures absolutely believe it, that since the Taliban don't like us, the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians and everybody must be working with the Taliban to come after us. And I think that if there is a geopolitical rationale, it's to deny Russia and especially China an ability to create a overland transportation corridor that would bring them into the heart of the Middle East and into South Asia.
To hear the rest of this show and more, you can find us at This is Revolution Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Podbean, Pandora, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, you can find a new episode every Wednesday on the Zero Books YouTube channel. This is Revolution.